Okay, the great thing about Revit is that as I work on the project, I can clearly communicate to other people, including in some cases myself, any what the design looks like and any problems that I might have. So I just spotted that the stair is not correct in the model here because my floor was 2 feet above the street level. So yeah, I can pick in this and fix it. I can say there's a base offset of 2 feet like that, and it's going to make the correction that I want. And I'm not quite sure that that's correct, so it sure doesn't look right, does it? So I'm going to say there that the top level is mezzanine. I'm going to come back to that. Let me just try something here if I move that up too as well. Let me leave that and I'll come back to that in a second. But this is a good example of how sometimes you see something that otherwise you would miss. So I know I've got a stair issue that I need to fix in my project. So in keeping with the idea that the more views I have of this, the easier it is for me to communicate, and the easier it is for me to discover errors at an early stage instead of waiting until the building is constructed, it would be nice if I could do something like create perspective views of my model with renderings. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the street view. I'm going to go to the view tab, and down here I'm going to say place a camera. So I'm going to look in the areas that I'm concerned about here in the building to see exactly what I've got on the inside of my building. When you create those views, you can drag the edges with this circular control group. Well, you don't want to do it too much because it'll warp the perspective. The other thing you might want to do is you want to rename these and give them kind of meaningful names, so that other people working in the project don't see view 1, view 2, view 3, but things that mean something to them. If I look down here, I've got my rendering option, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on using the defaults. I'm just going to say render that view. I haven't changed sun position or anything. I'm just wanting to capture a image of my inside of my building. Looks nasty, black, right? But the reason I chose draft is so that this would be quick. So here's the thing: if I know that this was the south facing wall, but the default lighting has given me a kind of a black interior, what I can do is I'm going to turn shadows on. That's going to indicate to me that, yeah, this is the reason that it's so dark, is because the shadows from the lighting setting that I've got are dark and are creating lots of dark areas inside the building. If I go down here again to the graphic display options, instead of choosing the in-session lighting, what I can do is I can say, well, I'm actually thinking that I might want to create for a single day, maybe the summer, let's do the winter solstice, so it's 12th of December, sorry, it's the 21st of December. I'll do from sunrise to sunset at intervals of 15 minutes with, and I'm going to switch that off, because if I've got terrain in my model, then I want the shadows to fall on the terrain. If I didn't have terrain and I just wanted on the exterior of my building to see shadows, I could tell it what level I wanted these shadows to show on. But since I have the terrain, I'm turning this off. So now if I do this and OK, that's what I'm seeing on the inside of my building first thing in the morning. And if I actually go to this and say preview that study and click you see the date and the time up here, and if I say play that, that's the pattern of light. I don't know if my animation will capture this, so just in case it doesn't, what I'll show you is that I can go next frame, next frame, next frame. So in other words, if I go through to maybe something like here where it's 9:59 in the morning, and then I go back to my my render option, and now that I'm sure I'm going to get a slightly better image, and I don't mind if it takes a little longer to do it, I'm going to change the rendering settings to medium. I haven't placed any lights on the inside of the building, so I'm only interested in exterior lighting, and I'm just going to say render it, and I'm doing this live so you get a sense of how much time it actually takes. So it does 2 passes. It goes through first time and it looks fairly crude, pixelated, and then it goes through a second time. So once we get past the 50% mark, you'll see that it actually starts to kind of create more realistic rendered images of the inside of my building. Now it still looks to me a little dark, but the point here is that I don't need to re-render it, because I know that I've got an option down here that once I've made a rendering on the view, I can adjust the exposure to make it a little brighter. So what I'm going to do is just let it finish what it's doing, and then I'll say save that to the project. So it's going to create a rendered image, and it's going to put it down down in here under a category called renderings. And then just to show you the difference that this makes, I'm going to go in here and say adjust the exposure value and apply it to this to make it a little brighter. Okay, maybe even a little brighter than that. I'm just looking at my images and applying the changes, and then maybe when I've got something that I'm more happy with, then I can say save that to the project. I can close this, and if I look down here under renderings, it's like there was my first attempt where it was a little too dark, and there I've been able to edit it a little bit and get something a little better for my next option. So you saw creating a view and then doing rendering in that view and adjusting the rendering to get more or better values.